What are the best products to sell on Amazon in 2025? That is one question I'm getting asked a lot at the moment by new Amazon sellers. What is actually going to give them a good chance of success? So we're at that time of year at the moment where there's a lot of people that are looking to make changes to their life as we head into the new year and head into 2025. And one of the considerations is usually, can I start my own business? And the business model that comes up an awful lot is Amazon FBA private label. But what happens is when people discover this business model and they see the potential it has, and they hear from people like me that has had life-changing impacts from the benefits and success we've had with Amazon FBA, they get really excited and rush into it. And then they make errors with their product selection. So the aim of this video is to try and help you avoid some of the pitfalls and the traps that come with choosing a product to sell on Amazon. Now, I could just give you a list of products to go and sell, but the chances are you won't understand why I've chosen those products, and it may not be the right product for you either. So instead, what I'm going to do is give you a list of things you need to avoid when choosing a product on Amazon. And if you can avoid all of these, then the product you choose should be a good choice. So the first thing I want you to avoid when choosing a product on Amazon is a product that has lots of variations. And there's two reasons for this. The first reason is when you're trying to judge demand and how many sales you can expect to make yourself and how much inventory to order. When those sales are spread across multiple variations, it's very difficult for you to predict and judge that. So what often happens, you either over or under order inventory for each variation. And when you're starting an Amazon business, and this applies to pretty much all of the points in this video, the goal is to keep things as simple as possible. And there are hundreds of thousands, if not millions of products out there and opportunities that don't require variation. So don't complicate things for the sake of it. There will be other opportunities. Don't just take a variation because that's the best you could find. Just keep looking and you will find a better product. The other issue with variations as well, if you go into a niche where lots of other products have variations, the actual parent listing benefits from the sales of all of those child listings. So it can be difficult to compete with those if you've only got either no variations or very few variations, when those other listings have a lot more to boost their overall figures. The next thing I want you to avoid is low value products. And when I say low value, I mean any products priced below £20. Now, if you end up selling at $18.99 or $19.99, that's probably fine. I just put £20 in for a very round, clean figure for people to use. And the reason behind this is basically the Amazon fees are so high and import costs are high as well, freight costs are high, that if you're selling below £20, it can be very, very difficult to make a profit. And you're going to have to invest quite a bit of money in PPC, which is pay-per-click sponsored ads, to actually launch your products and probably maintain your ranks as well. So when you take all of those things into account, if you're selling a low value product on Amazon, you're probably not going to make money. So the higher the price of the product, somewhere in the £20 to £30 price point is a good target for new sellers. Then you have a much better chance of making money selling on Amazon, which is ultimately the reason why we are all here. I also want you to avoid high demand products, which if you're a new seller, you might be super excited about starting an Amazon business and you want to sell as many as possible. But if you go and pick a high demand product, and in my eyes, a high demand product is any product that is selling above 300 units per month. And this is because if you launch a high demand product, you have two issues. Number one, the amount of inventory you need to actually get that product launched in the first place. So you're going to need to order out in about 2 to 3 months of stock, usually 3 months of stock, so you don't run out of inventory straight away. So if you're selling above 300 units per month, you're starting from 900 plus. So let's say 1,000 units as your minimum order. So that means a much higher capital investment at the start. It's a greater financial risk. Or if you pick a lower demand niche, 100 units per month or 150, then maybe you only need to order 300, 400, 500 units initially. It keeps your overall financial risk down. The other thing is launching in a niche where there is high demand is going to cost you a lot more in PPC. One of the metrics that Amazon considers when ranking products in the organic search results, so when you search for that particular product where you appear, not the paid listings, but the organic ones, is how many sales you are making compared to the competition. It's not the only metric, but it's one that they look at. So often you need to match or outsell the existing listings to have a chance of getting ranked. And if you can get ranked well organically, that's when you can start making profit rather than PPC sales, which are probably going to eat up most of the margin. So if you enter into lower demand niches, it's going to cost you a lot less and it's going to be a lot easier to get ranked. So your chances of success are a lot higher. Next up, we have large and or heavy products. And in brackets, I've got aim for less than 1.9 kilograms and check the dimensional weight. So what do I mean by those two things? Well, if you go above 1.9 kilograms, the weight of the product, in the Amazon FBA fulfillment tiers, the pricing schedule that they've got, in the small parcel or standard parcel, once you get past 1.9 kilograms, the fulfillment fee per unit goes up very quickly. We're talking probably like a £2 increase. So on Amazon, where you've got relatively tight margins to begin with, losing £2 extra per unit because you've gone over that 1.9 kilogram threshold often is the end of many products. So be super aware of that. And next to that, I've got check the dimensional weight, because Amazon will take either the actual weight of the product or the dimensional weight of the product and use whichever is heaviest. So you might have a light product, but if the dimensional weight, which is basically the volume of the product, is heavy, Amazon will take that instead. So to check your dimensional weight, what you do is multiply the dimensions in centimeters together. So you do your width by your height by your depth. So say it was 10 by 10 by 10, and then the total of that you divide by 5,000, and that will give you your dimensional weight in kilograms, and then use the heavier one of the two to see what fulfillment tier you would be in. Next up, we have seasonal products. Now, I'm not against products that have a seasonal increase, but I do recommend that new sellers avoid products where the seasonality is a big issue throughout the year. So if you pick a product that only sells well at Christmas and has no demand the rest of the year, or maybe something barbecue related that sells well in the summer and is awful throughout the rest of the year, that's not a good product to pick. But certainly something that picks up in Q4 and still sells consistently throughout the rest of the year, I've got no issues with that. The best way to check the seasonality of a product is to look at the search volume history, and I've showed you X-ray from Helium 10 many times before. Make sure you look at that search volume history to see how the search volume fluctuates throughout the year, and that's the best way to judge the seasonality of the product. And also be aware that when you're doing product research, what time of year you're doing that product research. So at the moment, it's kind of, as we're heading into the new year, a lot of the sales on Amazon are going to be skewed because of Q4 demand. So don't do analysis at the moment and expect those type of sales throughout the rest of the year. So always have an eye on seasonality, both from when you're actually doing the research at that time and also the search volume history for the rest of the year, so you know how much demand might increase or decrease throughout the rest of the year. We've also got dangerous goods and hazardous materials. Now, if you just Google Amazon and dangerous goods or Amazon and hazardous materials, you'll see various lists giving you much more information in this. But basically, although you can sell these products on Amazon, you often need certain approval. So things like batteries, perfumes, anything that's flammable, toxic, radioactive, etc. Hopefully not radioactive, but you get the point. So just be aware of these. And again, this just goes back to keeping things as simple as possible. Why pick a product where you've got to do safety data sheets and get dangerous goods approval and all of that, when you can just pick a product that doesn't have these issues? And there's hundreds of thousands, if not millions of opportunities where you don't have to do this. This also applies to products that require CE or UKCA markings, which are basically equivalents, and that applies to things such as electronics, toys, PPE, etc. I think it even applies to footwear and gloves as well. And these things aren't as bad. Just double check this with your supplier. So if your product is going to require this, before you commit to a bulk order, ask your supplier to provide either the CE or the UKCA testing certificate, so that if later down the line Amazon do request that from you, you can feel confident that you will be able to provide it. Also, fad products, so things like fidget spinners from a few years back, products that suddenly appear that you don't know how long the product life cycle is going to be, how demand is going to vary as the fad starts to wear out, and also the price point as well. Normally with a fad product, the price point will start high and it'll be beaten down over time as more and more sellers enter into that niche. So the best thing to do is just sell boring, old, stale products that people have been selling for many, many years. So you've got a consistent sales history. You know what you can expect going forward based on what's happened so far. Fragile products probably speak for themselves, really. Anything that is easily damaged in transit. And the reason for this is you don't want a high return rate. High return rate will eat into your profit margins. And also, if your product has a high return rate relative to other products in that niche, then you will struggle to rank in the search results. It's one of the other metrics that Amazon do look at when ranking products. Size-reliant products such as clothing. Like, I was thinking about launching dog collars or a dog harness, and then I realized how much variation there is in dog builds and dog sizes, that the return rate on these would just be absolutely terrible, probably 20-30%. So think about that. If your product is going to require customers choosing the right size, and there's a good chance they can get that wrong, definitely avoid those types of products. Topical or ingestible products, so basically anything you put on your skin or eat or drink. And again, I'm not saying you can't sell these, but there are restrictions, there's documents you're going to have to provide, and there are additional risks that you just don't need to take with your first product. There are simpler choices that don't carry all of those issues. Adult items is an interesting one because you are allowed to sell adult items on Amazon, but you're not allowed to run Amazon sponsored ads on them. So it makes launching an adult item not impossible, but pretty close to it. So for new sellers, anything that you think could be classed as adult items, and also be very careful with wording in your listing, as if you use a certain word, there's many adult related search terms, but if you use the wrong keywords and your listing gets flagged as an adult listing, then even if your product isn't an adult product, it can be very, very difficult to recover from that, because you've got to convince Amazon you don't have an adult product, and that's normally a very, very tricky process. And then finally, don't sell copycat products, which you're probably thinking, aren't all products on Amazon copycat? Yeah, pretty much. We're all sourcing from the same factories. So what do I mean by that? Well, yes, copy the products that are selling well, but also develop that product. Don't just take it straight from the factory. You want to make, it's not just a case of putting your branding on it. You want to develop the product to add additional functions or features or design aesthetics, something that's going to draw the eye, something that when the customer sees that product and sees your product listings, it makes them think that your listing is offering more value, even if it's at a higher price point. If your product has features, functions, and benefits the other listings don't have, your listing will have greater perceived value, so that there's a better chance that customers will buy your product over the competition. So it's very, very important. Don't be a copycat. Always develop the product fully. So hopefully now you know what not to sell on Amazon, but you still want to find your first product, right? So what I'm going to do now is pop up a video I recorded a couple of weeks ago that shows you the method that I use to find products to sell on Amazon in 2025. I'm going to pop up that video now, and I'll see you guys over there.